Imagine the absolute depth of a midwinter night in the year 1300. Outside your window, a biting, relentless wind howls across the desolate, snow-covered hills of northern Europe. There are no modern thermostats to click on, no insulated fiberglass walls to trap the rising warmth, no synthetic fleeces, and no hot water bottles waiting to cozy up your bed. The air inside your humble home is so cold that your breath forms immediate, ghostly plumes of white mist in the darkness. Yet, despite the freezing temperatures that threaten to turn the outdoor world into ice, you are about to settle into a remarkably warm, deep, and comforting sleep. Tonight, we are going to peel back the heavy layers of time to explore the cozy, ingenious, and deeply communal ways that medieval peasants survived the coldest nights of the year. By winding down with this quiet, incredibly detailed history, you will find a peaceful escape from the frantic pace of modern life, allowing your mind to settle, your muscles to relax, and your body to drift slowly into a restful slumber. To truly understand how a medieval peasant family kept the freezing darkness of winter at bay, we must first step inside their home, the Crook cottage. These simple, rustic dwellings were constructed using natural materials sourced directly from the surrounding forests and fields. Strong, curved oak timbers formed the heavy frame, while the walls were made of wattle and daub, a woven lattice of hazel or willow branches plastered over with a thick, insulating mixture of mud, straw, and animal clay. But the true heart of this home, the emotional and physical anchor of daily survival, was the central hearth. Unlike the grand, brick chimneys of the wealthy nobility, a peasant's hearth was typically located right in the middle of the dirt floor. This central placement was a brilliant design choice. A fire built in the very center of a room radiates its precious heat outwards in a complete, 360-degree circle, ensuring that no warmth is lost to the exterior stone walls. Because there was no chimney, the smoke did not escape through a direct flue. Instead, it rose slowly up into the high, vaulted ceiling, drifting lazily through the thick layers of the thatched straw roof. To a modern observer, this might sound incredibly uncomfortable, but to a medieval family, this floating blanket of smoke was a crucial survival tool. The rising smoke acted as a natural layer of heavy insulation, trapping the heat below while keeping the dampness of the outdoor snow from seeping through the thatch. It also drove away unwanted pests, preserving the structural integrity of the roof timbers. As the evening progressed and the heavy oak logs slowly collapsed into a mound of glowing, deep red embers, the family would gather close around the hearth. The floor immediately surrounding the fire would become thoroughly baked with heat, radiating a deep, natural warmth upwards long after the flames had died down to a quiet, rhythmic hum. As the night deepened, the family would prepare to share their living space with some very unusual, but highly valued, house guests. In many parts of medieval Europe, particularly in the windswept regions of England, France, and Germany, peasants lived in what were known as longhouses. These long, rectangular structures were cleverly divided into two main sections by a simple wooden screen or a low stone partition. On one side of the house lived the human family, on the other side, inside the warm, dry barn stalls, lived their precious livestock, their dairy cows, sheep, oxen, and goats. This cohabitation was not a sign of poverty, but a masterclass in ancient ecological engineering. Animals are, in essence, highly efficient biological space heaters. A single adult dairy cow produces an immense amount of natural body heat, radiating warmth into the surrounding air 24 hours a day. By keeping their most valuable animals under the very same roof, medieval peasants successfully created a primitive, continuous central heating system. The heat generated by the huddled livestock would slowly rise, filling the barn stalls and drifting over the partition wall to warm the family's sleeping quarters. The gentle, rhythmic sounds of the animals shifting in their straw, the soft rustle of sheep chewing their dry winter hay, and the occasional low, comforting grumble of a cow in the dark provided a soothing, predictable white noise. This comforting presence assured the sleeping family that their agricultural wealth was safe from the bitter outdoor frost and ravenous winter wolves, allowing them to rest with a profound sense of security and peace. When it finally came time to close their eyes and surrender to sleep, the family would gather at the communal bedding area. Private, individual bedrooms were a luxury completely unknown to the medieval peasant. Instead, the entire household, grandparents, parents, children, and sometimes even a traveling laborer, would sleep together in one shared bed, or huddled closely on raised wooden platforms. This collective sleeping arrangement was absolutely vital for retaining precious core body heat on freezing nights. The foundation of their sleeping comfort was the mattress, known as a palliasse. This was a large, heavy sack made of coarse canvas or linen, stuffed tightly with fresh straw, dried bracken, or sweet-smelling woodruff. Every autumn, after the harvest, these mattresses would be emptied and refilled with crisp, dry straw to ensure they remain thick, insulating, and highly elevated off the cold, damp dirt floor. On top of this straw foundation, the family would layer their bedding. The ultimate luxury in a peasant household was a heavy, tightly woven wool blanket. Wool is a miraculous natural fiber. Its crimped, interlocking hairs create millions of tiny, microscopic air pockets that trap body heat with incredible efficiency, keeping the sleeper warm even if the air became damp. Over the wool blankets, they would drape cured sheepskins and heavy cowhides, keeping the rough, wind-blocking leather on the outside and the soft, insulating fur pressed down against their bodies. To protect their heads from the cool, drafty air circulating through the cottage, everyone wore thick, woolen nightcaps that tied snugly under the chin, as well as long, coarse linen nightshirts. Huddled together beneath this mountain of wool, straw, and fur, the family created a highly concentrated microclimate of warmth, where the shared heat of their bodies formed an impenetrable shield against the icy winter air. But surviving a medieval winter night was not just about trapping external heat, it was also about fueling the internal metabolic furnace. Before climbing into their communal nest of straw and wool, the peasant family would consume a heavy, warm evening meal specifically designed to keep their bodies working to produce heat throughout the long, dark hours. The staple of every peasant diet was pottage, a thick, slow-simmered stew that cooked continuously in a heavy iron cauldron suspended directly over the central hearth. This hearty dish was made from locally grown barley, oats, and rye, thickened with dried peas, fava beans, and whatever winter root vegetables could be pulled from the dark earth, such as parsnips, turnips, and leeks. If the family was fortunate, a small piece of salted pork or some preserved animal fat would be thrown into the pot, melting into the broth to provide crucial, energy-dense calories. To accompany this thick, steaming stew, the family drank warm, dark ale or small beer. Unlike modern commercial beers, medieval ale was thick, sweet, and highly nutritious, often referred to by historians as liquid bread. It was brewed at home from barley and oats and was frequently served warm, heated in a clay mug directly next to the embers of the fire. As the family ate, their digestive systems went to work. The complex carbohydrates from the whole grains and the dense proteins from the legumes required hours of slow, metabolic processing. This continuous digestion acted like a slow-burning stove inside their bodies, gently raising their core temperatures from the inside out and providing a steady, reliable stream of metabolic warmth that lasted until the first pale light of the winter dawn. As the fire slowly quieted to a sleepy, deep red glow, the cottage would settle into a profound, velvety darkness. The heavy wooden door, bolted tightly with a thick oak bar and sealed against drafts with bundles of dry straw and heavy wool drapes, stood as a sturdy barrier between the sleeping family and the freezing wilderness outside. Inside, the air was still, heavy with the earthy, comforting sense of dried lavender, wood smoke, fresh straw, and the warm, deep breath of the resting livestock. The children, nestled deeply between their parents, felt entirely secure, wrapped in layers of wool and the protective, familiar warmth of their family. There were no flashing digital screens to disrupt their natural sleep cycles, no distracting hum of modern machinery, and no urgent notifications to break the deep, natural rhythm of their rest. They slept in perfect harmony with the earth, waking only when the natural light of the sun began to slowly illuminate the frosty patterns on the small window. This quiet, collective survival was a beautiful testament to human resilience, showing us that even in the simplest of dwellings, with nothing more than mud, straw, wood, and love, the human spirit can find absolute warmth, comfort, and deep, restorative peace. Now, let the soothing, timeless imagery of this quiet medieval evening wrap around you like a heavy, protective wool blanket. Feel the comforting support of your bed beneath you, and let any lingering tension in your shoulders, your jaw, and your mind gently melt away into the quiet dark. You are safe, you are warm, and you are entirely free to let go of the demands of the modern world. If you found comfort in this journey through the quiet corners of our shared past, please consider subscribing to the channel to join our sleepy community, and leave a gentle comment sharing what historical era you would like to sleepily explore next. But for now, let your eyes grow heavy, let your breathing become slow, steady, and peaceful, and drift away into a deep, beautiful, and utterly restorative sleep. Good night.